Chapter 32. Steamroller. Looking from the clock on the dash that read 5:36 a.m. to the guard post coming into view up ahead, Bellamy's grip tightened around the pistol in his lap as the time changed to 5:37 a.m. "Well, you seem to be good with time. Now how are you going to do with getting us through?" Bellamy asked the CERT driver while watching the guard station as they approached. "I will have to talk to them and get the log sheet signed." "Do what you need to. Just don't do anything out of the norm," Bellamy advised the CERT driver. With only 100 feet between their truck and the guard station, Bellamy could tell by their actions that the attack had begun. Only one man stood at the checkpoint, while others could be seen making their way up the tunnel with both hands wrapped around their rifles. The sight of them being drawn away made Bellamy smile inside, as he thought about how great it would have been to have had such a man like Karnak planning the missions on the battlefield of Europe during World War II. Hell, all the planning consisted of back then seemed to be which direction to point us in, and yelling, "Charge!" Bellamy thought, as the truck came to a stop. Bellamy cautiously watched the driver's every movement while covering the pistol in his lap with the CERT cap from atop his head. Bellamy could see only the guard's head as he walked along the driver's side of the truck to the driver's door, with his head turned in the direction everyone was running. "Where is everyone heading?" the CERT driver asked after rolling down his window. "It's probably just more bandits. They will be dead in no time." "What do you have here?" the guard asked as he brought his clipboard up to check the deliveries. "Hell if I know. They load it, and we deliver it. You know how it goes." To Bellamy's surprise, the man was a good actor. After a moment, the guard's face appeared in the driver's window as Bellamy continued to watch the driver's movements. "This truck was supposed to have been here 2 days ago. Where you been?" the guard asked while looking around the cab. "Well, my co-driver got sick, the truck broke down, and the only driver they had was this old grumpy guy." The CERT driver pointed to Bellamy with his thumb. As the driver's right hand rose from the steering wheel to gesture to him as the co-driver, Bellamy noticed the driver's other hand was on the outside of the door. Not knowing what the driver was doing caused alarms to go off in Bellamy's mind. To Bellamy, there was no room for an unknown in this equation when so many other soldiers depended on him. Before he had finished the thought, his finger had already pulled the trigger of the pistol under the hat. As the pistol recoiled in his lap and loaded another round, time seemed to slow down to Bellamy. Although the 124-grain 9mm bullet was traveling more than 1,000 feet per second, Bellamy thought he watched it travel 3 feet to the guard hanging on the driver's door. He watched as the bullet entered between his right nostril and cheekbone, leaving only a little dark spot that was followed by a burst of blood and gray matter exiting his skull from the rear. Still, the guard stood at the window, though Bellamy had already turned his pistol to the driver, who had begun lunging his way. Bellamy's heart raced as he willed his old muscles to turn in the direction that the pistol was aimed. A slight touch of fear came over him, as he knew the CERT driver would be on him before he could fire. Suddenly, the driver stopped almost in midair, as if time had frozen him. As the driver returned to his seat with a look on his face that said, "It's shit," Bellamy saw the reason for the sudden stop. The driver was still wearing his seatbelt. With a big smile on his face, Bellamy remarked, "Safety first, dumbass," then fired 2 rounds into the driver's chest. Bellamy quickly exited the passenger side and began making his way around to the driver's side. Coming around the front of the truck, Bellamy couldn't believe the guard was still hanging on the side of the truck where he had shot him, though most of the contents of his head were on the ground behind him. Stepping up alongside him, Bellamy gave the guard's hands a bump with his pistol that caused the dead man to fall as he should have in the beginning. "Now I just have to get you out," Bellamy said to the dead CERT driver leaning on the door. Reaching in through the window, Bellamy unlatched the driver's seatbelt and then stepped back down to the ground before opening the door, letting his body tumble down the side of the truck and come to rest on top of the guard. Bellamy grabbed his side with his left hand as a sharp pain and burning sensation filled the area. He knew what it was as he turned as quickly as he could to the guard station and the direction of the gunshot. Another shot rang out, and again Bellamy felt another burning sensation as he fell to the pavement next to the 2 men he had killed. Thoughts of the soldiers being trapped in the trailer filled him with panic as he lay there among the dead. Bellamy closed his eyes as the terrifying thought of what would happen to them filled his mind. "Just this one last mission, Lord?" Bellamy asked, unsure if he had voiced the thought aloud or if it was just in his head. A lifetime seemed to pass in only seconds, and Bellamy wondered what would be revealed to him when his eyes opened. Heaven or hell? Slowly, Bellamy opened his eyes and saw the man standing above him looking down. Bellamy raised his pistol and fired. "Thank you, Lord." Struggling to stand, Bellamy used the steps below the driver's side door to climb to his feet. Looking up for another spot to grab hold of, he realized just what the driver had been doing with his hand on the outside of the window. The driver had written in the dust with his finger, "Shoot him." Now on his feet, Bellamy looked up the tunnel for any other surprises. Satisfied that no others were heading his way, he began to move to the rear of the trailer. As he walked, he thought it strange how the pain seemed to lighten. Once at the back, Bellamy couldn't remember a time in his life when he was so happy to work a door latch. With the truck facing uphill, the trailer door swung open as the latch released. Bellamy swore he had never seen such a beautiful sight. Along the floor was a row of soldiers with their weapons aimed at him. Just behind them was a row kneeling and ready to fire, and just behind them, another row of soldiers standing. "This is America," Bellamy said as he saw past the camouflage and battle gear to the men and women of all races, ready to fight and die together. "Bellamy, everything good?" Sergeant Lee asked as he began making his way to the rear of the trailer. "Yeah, just had to take care of a few things. Listen, Sergeant, we need to get moving." "What does it look like ahead, Bellamy?" Lee directed the soldiers to dismount from the trailer. Still holding his side where both bullets had struck close to the same spot, Bellamy spoke clearly to Sergeant Lee while standing tall as if it were no big deal. "We are at the first guard post. I took out 2 guards and the driver. The others who were here were heading away when we pulled up. I suggest we do the same as we did with the tank. You and your men follow behind the truck and I drive." Lee thought about the plan only for a second. "Sounds good. I'll have a few guys ride up front with you to provide cover." "No, Sergeant, that will not be necessary." Bellamy raised the pistol in his right hand, trying to make Lee believe he was going to do it himself. "Very well. All right, keep it tight, and use the truck for cover until we are engaged. Spread out when possible and keep an eye on the soldier next to you." Lee looked to Bellamy and nodded. "Right behind you. Lead the way, soldier." A soldier. Something that Bellamy had never thought he would be again after returning from World War II. He felt the importance of that title more now than then. Making his way to the cab of the truck, Bellamy could feel his body weakening. Stepping over the bodies beneath the driver's door, he slid the pistol in his pocket. Afraid that if he removed his left hand from his side, that what remaining life he had would escape, he opened the door with his right hand and slowly climbed into the cab. Sitting there with his right hand on the steering wheel, Bellamy took in as much air as he could, clearing his mind as he exhaled. "Just a little longer, Lord," he said aloud as he turned the key, bringing the motor to life. Looking back through the driver's side mirror, Bellamy could see Lee give him a thumbs up as he shifted the semi into gear. Bellamy drove as slowly as he could through the tunnel, keeping the semi as close to one side as possible, so that those behind could focus only on defending one side. They were able to travel for 200 yards this way before the tunnel opened into a much larger area. Off to one side, Bellamy could see the large support columns in the area they controlled. Feeling his strength failing as he turned the large steering wheel, Bellamy knew he didn't have long. Seconds later, Bellamy fought his wavering vision by shaking his head from side to side in an effort to focus, but the crashing sound of the front fender hitting the first pillar told him just how close he was. As quickly as he could, Bellamy began turning the semi away from the pillars and directing it to the men firing at them from the front entrance after hearing the crash and realizing they were being attacked from the rear. Looking in the mirror, Bellamy saw that most of the soldiers following him had moved to the cover of the rock pillar. Bellamy felt his time running out as bullets created hole after hole in the windshield, sending glass flying all through the cab. The sight didn't worry Bellamy as he felt his body falling to sleep. Slowly, the noise of gunfire and broken glass faded away. Bellamy focused on one small spot to the left of his vision as everything grew dark around it. Just before that last spot in his vision closed up, Bellamy spoke as loud as he could, which was only a whisper. "Thank you, Lord, for answering an old soldier's prayer.